You've heard it said, health is wealth, so enrich your life with the Healthy Home Hour, brought to you by the Healthy Home Market. Every Sunday, 9 to 10 a.m. Know what's new and classic for health and wellness. Meet the local and national experts. Live God's plan to thrive, not just survive. I'm your host, Holly Adams, and welcome to the Healthy Home Hour. Hey, happy Sunday. Glad you're here. Morning all. Thanks for being here for the weekly health installment for your wellness toolbox. This Healthy Home Hour, we are ramping up our know-how and some how-tos to make it through the coming winter with a stronger immune system. It's like a sort of health shield is what we're after because, well, I was reading the Farmer's Almanac the other day, the go-to handbook for weather and soil predictions since about 1818. That's 1818, folks. Says it's going to be a wetter, colder, snowier year this coming season. And, that leads to colds and flu, but we're here today to talk about it, so hold on. Don't run to the drugstore panicked and just fill up your medicine chest. There really is a better way that makes sense, a body-friendly way to stay ahead of the germs at school or the office, wherever you are, at church or even at home. So helping us out here this morning is Mary Bove, naturopathic doctor or ND, and an honored medical educator in alternative and integrative care. And Mary Bove has formulated herbal remedies with GIAI Herbs and other remedies for other folks and for her own private practice. But GIAI Herbs is truly extraordinary. They're a North Carolina company, an organic herb farm, and GIAI is, well, we'll talk about GIAI Herbs, possibly the purest herbal company on the planet. No exaggeration or hyperbole. So, Mary Bove, so excited to have you with us. Thank you for making time in your busy schedule and sharing your knowledge and good ideas for staying well. Welcome to the Healthy Home Hour.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me. And yes, it's so important to be able to stay well during the winter time.
It is. It's not always easy, and so we're here I'm so glad you're here so we can look at how to do it now, how to do it better. I want to talk about GIAI Herbs and the role that they have played in health foods and quality control, and of course GIAI's famous phrase, plant intelligence. But before we get to that, help us understand the function of our immune systems and where does the immune system live in our bodies? Is there sort of a central immune place?
Well, the immune system actually is throughout the whole body, but actually the gut or the gastrointestinal tract houses a lot of immune tissue. And the immune system is a diffuse kind of complex network of interacting cells. And, those cells act to protect the body from infections and foreign substances. They also help to destroy abnormal cells or police cell growth, and the immune system also helps to get waste out of the body, and it includes many different tissues and types of cells and organs throughout the body.
Yeah, it's a busy system. It's doing a lot of work. I mean, what would you say how the immune system plays itself out in overall health? What does having a good immune system really mean?
Well, I think having a good immune system means that there's, good function and good communication within the immune system. So that means that we have, healthy cell growth, and we have good defense, so we don't get every little thing that comes our way. Many times we come in association to types of infections or microbes that might create infection, but our immune system stamps it out before we even get a symptom. And so I think that's important. The immune system is also involved with allergy and inflammation. And inflammation is, part of an immune response, but it can also, act against our health if it becomes more chronic or toxic in that sense.
Right, sure. I'm wondering how the immune system shows up in our lives, in our bodies. How would we know the difference or that our immune system is compromised? What does it look like? What does it do? What compromises it?
Well, I think there are a number of different ways depending on, who you are in your life and your age, in that sense. But, like, the immune system has what we call the non-specific defense mechanisms, and those are, like, our mechanisms that are what we call the first line of defense, such as our skin, our mucous membranes, and secretions. So someone who has, a lot of skin issues, health, a rash, or inability for their skin to actually be healthy, that's a sign there's immune compromise. Or someone who has chronic inflammation in their sinuses, their mucous membranes, postnasal drip all the time, or, even in their mouth where they have gingivitis, that really makes a comment that there's immune compromise. And then we have things like, as I said, in our second line of defense, we have what we call the inflammation. So people who have chronic inflammation, who have inflammatory issues with their joints, or again their skin or their gut, again that points towards strains to the immune system. And then certainly things with like chronic allergies, and or people who have chronic diseases such as like a chronic virus, where they may get a lot of cold sores during the winter, and that really tells them that their immune system isn't managing their chronic virus.
So I guess just to start, like honing in on inflammation, is there a particular herb that speaks to inflammation better than some of the others?
Well, yes, I think there are herbs that are directly related in what we call the inflammatory mechanism. So a herb like turmeric root, which has an effect in the body on multiple mechanisms that contribute to immune inflammation, would be one such plant. Or holy basil, which also has a direct effect given the fact that it has a high amount of what we call eugenol in its volatile oil. That, again, inhibits a certain mechanism within or chemical compounds that communicate inflammation in the body.
You mentioned holy basil, and of course it's such a revered herb, as you would say. And rather than just herb, I'll get it right and say herb. And it also is very good for stress. And it seems like stress is here to stay. We are all in an intimate relationship with stress now, so we have to manage that relationship. And there's a big connection between stress and immunity. And there's stats out there like 85% of illness is stress based. And then that kind of brings up a thought about the adrenal glands, and that reminds me of holy basil and immunity. It really is kind of a loop, isn't it?
It is. It really, I think just what you were saying, it really stresses that there's a cycle and a network that happens, and that stress, is a form of, or, forms of things that create stress, not only in our emotional body, but in our physical body. So, when we talk about stress, it's not just what's happening in our life that seems overwhelming. It can also be the fact that I don't eat properly, or I go out in the cold weather and I don't dress properly. So there can be physiological stresses as well, and those all trigger that kind of stress response. So holy basil works as what we call anti-stress properties. It helps the body to mediate the effects of stress so that it doesn't trickle down into our physiology and create havoc. And so holy basil not only works as a inhibitor of inflammation and an inhibitor of oxidative stress, but it also works to help with, improving our mental clarity and just our mood and our, system that's directly mediating stress. And that, as you mentioned, involves the adrenal gland.
Yeah, holy basil is amazing. Where does it come from originally? It's not indigenous to the States, is it?
No, it's a plant that, comes out of India, Asia. It has a long traditional history in Ayurveda, and it actually shows up in so many ways in traditional Hindu life, and you might see that, both, in a spiritual way, in, food preparation, such as mixing it with ghee and using it in different food dishes, and then as tea. It's tulsi tea, and There are 3 forms that are very popular, used in tea. And so this plant, what shall we say, has been around for a very long time, but has gotten a lot of popular attention given the fact that, 1, it's a COX-2 inhibitor, so it affects inflammation, and 2, its effects as an adaptogen, and anti-stress properties, which is so, what should we say, important in our modern day life right now.
Yeah, when we've got to talk about adaptogens, but I just want to find out is holy basil different somehow than, is it a different species than the regular basil you see on your salad or on your tomatoes or in your tomato sauce?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So that is a different species in that sense, a different variety of basil. And, holy basil, the flavor of it is a little overwhelming comparatively to our sweet basil that we're using in cooking. And so some people do find that it's, strong in that sense. It makes me think of, I had someone making some pesto for me from some basil in the garden, and she didn't know the difference, and she made holy basil pesto, and when I took it out to serve it on pasta, it was so strong that we couldn't eat it.
It's kind of funny. Oh, I tell you, there's you got to be smart to know about these herbs, right? You got to be in the know. So, folks, So that's an interesting story. We're going to take just a short break, folks. We'll be right back. We're here with Mary Bove talking about herbs, adaptogens, stress, and the beautiful products at GIAI Herbs, our GIAI Herb Farm right here in North Carolina. So stay with us. We got lots to talk about and how you can get right through the end of winter without a cold and a flu, and do the best you can to get there healthy. So stay with us right here on the Healthy Home Hour. You know it's true. Drink more water, eat your vegetables, and move your body and bones for real and lasting health. But which water and what foods? Do you find it hard to know what to eat these days? Get the help your body craves at the Healthy Home Market. Buy local farm-to-table foods to nourish your very cells with tasty goodness of organic natural meats and cheeses, produce, juices, and smoothies. And these days, everyone needs vitamins. Get the best and educate yourself with the highly trained vitamin staff at the Healthy Home Market. Learn how to restore your body from the inside out on a budget by shopping the extensive bulk department for nuts, herbs, cereals, dried fruits, mixes, and lots more. Experience the goodwill and bounty of the earth at the Healthy Home Market's 2 Charlotte locations and 1 in Davidson. Get details on the Healthy Home Market at healthyhomemkt.com.
Are you living your dream? Lots of us aren't, because we don't have a plan. All our dreams need the right plan. At the Charlotte Health Center, get a customized plan to lay down your pain and fatigue and get on your game. Feel the love and skill of Dr. Matt McAleese, chiropractor and founder of the Charlotte Health Center. Align your spine with Dr. Matt. He's got 5 essentials for a victorious life. Experience the energy, the clarity, and creativity of your body and brain when the power's on. The Charlotte Health Center is the largest private and pediatric chiropractic clinic in the QC. Dr. Matt has helped Olympians, celebrities, moms, and kids with exceptional care and concern. Call 704-780-0166. That's 704-780-0166 or charlottehealthcenter.com. Come on, live your dreams.
Novocaine, baby, baby. Novocaine, baby.
Back at you. We're here with you on the Healthy Home Hour, sponsored by the Healthy Home Market in Streets 1033. And I wanted to let you know before we get back with Mary Bove of GIAI Herbs, a naturopath and medical educator, I just want you to know what's up at the Community Wellness Center in Plaza Midwood behind the Healthy Home Market at 1330 Central Avenue. And tomorrow there's a baby wearing basics class and a meetup at 5:30 to 7:30. On Wednesday there's a class on energy therapy to support your immune system. So it goes along well with our show today and the herbs that you can find at the store right there on Wednesday if you go to the class. And then on Thursday, third Thursday again, it's raw vegan cuisine with Chef Ami El. It's a great time to get samples of this delicious food loaded with enzymes. There's recipes, tips, and like-minded folks. That class, there is a charge. Most of the classes are free at the Community Wellness Center. That class, there's a charge because you're getting dinner too, and a class, it's $20, and it starts at 6 p.m. So, Mary, before the break, we were talking about adaptogens, and tell us a little bit about, in the adrenal glands, and is there ever a time that you should slow down on adaptogens? I mean, what are they? Could you possibly overdo it?
Well, adaptogens are a relatively a new classification of plants, and part of that classification is that they're non-toxic and have relatively no side effects and are overall and general safe. So I think that somewhat addresses your question about, can you overdo it? And I think, in the sense of anything, there's that possibility. But adaptogens are meant to be used over a longer period of time to help to build and to interface with, our day-to-day. Sometimes some adaptogens are a little more specific to be, more calming or more, restoring to muscle tissue or having, a specific indication. But overall, using adaptogens as teas, as forms of, interfacing with herbs on a daily basis, they're the perfect group of plants to do that.
What kind of adaptogens should we look for?
Well, there's some very popular ones out there. I would say that, if we think about the ones we hear about more frequently, those would be holy basil, ashwagandha. Many people ask about ashwagandha, and also that's a plant that comes out of Ayurveda, again, and it's a plant that we know has effects in calming and restoring the nervous tissue, as well as having an effect in dealing with stress, restoring sleep, and that aspect. Also, rhodiola, which is known as Siberian Asiatic rose. The root of that plant is very, very restoring, and it's particularly useful in restoring physical tissue, particularly people who tend to have a lot of muscle exhaustion or fatigue, people who tend to have anxiety and or mood issues find rhodiola to be very useful there. We've mentioned holy basil, and then there's a plant which we might consider Schizandra berry, which is a Chinese adaptogen plant, which has excellent effects both in mood and stamina and overall cognitive function, as well as having high flavonoids, making it an excellent antioxidant, and having what we call liver protecting qualities, so helping to support the organ, the liver, and its functions in our physiology.
That's so interesting. You bring up the liver. Does the liver play a big role in our immunity?
It does. The liver plays actually a lot of roles. It's kind of a very important player in our health, and it's quiet behind the scenes. Many people think of it just as a detoxification agent, but it's involved with fat metabolism and cholesterol metabolism of different B vitamins. It has to do a lot with activation of substances in the body. And in immunity, it has to do with not only allergic reactions and allergic status, as well as inflammation. So we do want a healthy, functioning liver. And you'll find that things like holy basil and Schizandra are both two adaptogen plants that have a very supportive effect in liver function.
That's so interesting. I'm wondering, people talk all the time. When people come into the store, they're very interested in not only staying well through the winter, but there's a lot of interest in cleansing, in cleanses. And are there cleanses that can help, cleanses to set us up for a healthier winter? Is it okay to cleanse in the winter?
Yes, I think that's a great question. I would certainly say winter cleansing is fine if you live in Costa Rica and down around, the kind of more tropical areas. But I think if you live in a temperate area, such as northern New Hampshire or northern part of the United States, or where it gets cool cleansing in the winter needs to be different from the summer. So you may not want to do a water cleanse or an all-fruit cleanse in the winter, but you might do, broth cleanses or miso cleanses or single food cleanses where some people use rice in that sense, where they may give their system a rest from having lots of different foods and support it by, using different herbs or herbal teas or vegetable juices to support that cleansing mechanism.
Wow, that's really cool. I wanted to mention that I have been to the GIAI Herb Farm, and it really is a treasure. It's like kind of like a jewel on the landscape over there in Brevard, North Carolina, and the acres of herbs being grown, pardon me, is done organically and really with the utmost thoughtfulness. And I want to go back to what I mentioned at the top of the show, this idea of plant intelligence. And you all have figured it out for herbs. And what is the plant intelligence all about that we need to get?
Oh, I think that's like such a great question, and that in some ways, I think that, we've forgotten the fact that nature has an innate intelligence, and that happens, in plant and the natural kingdom all the time. And human beings sometimes think we know better, and we just kind of push our way and often miss some really important information. And one of the things that Gaia has learned from is by watching and observing plants grow and change and transform during their growing season, and seeing how that might match up with chemistries and or outcomes with medicines, and finding that the plants often have their own innate intelligence that can help guide us. And Gaia has taken that in consideration, not only with how they grow plants, but how they extract plants and how formulations are made for the Gaia products.
How does Gaia extract what's really so beneficial from each plant? I know you've got something called, you've got liquid tinctures as well as liquid phyto caps. They're very beautiful, and they're like artisanal products. Tell us about that, why they're so good.
Yes, well, I think, part of what makes a great product is having a great raw material, and Gaia is committed to having seed to shelf. And so starting with good soils and good organic gardening technique, good seed stock allows us to grow good materials, and good raw materials can then be processed appropriately. So that means if we're growing a plant and we've looked at its chemistries in the lab, and we know that the active compounds are highest when we see the plant at this stage, we're going to harvest that, because it means that if we harvest it that day versus the following week or a week too early, we may not have harvested the plant at its most optimal chemistry time. So that would also make a difference. And then looking at how we extract, in the sense that generally ethanol alcohol is an excellent extract, but there are some compounds in plants, such as the fatty compounds, that do better with what we call a CO2 extract. So in some of our compounds in our products, you'll see that there'll be turmeric extract done with alcohol as well as a CO2 extract, again getting a full spectrum representation of the chemistries by watching that. And when we do our phytocaps, we actually concentrate off the alcohol and add in a small amount of glycerin for stabilization inside the cap, so that we can deliver this liquid in the caps and not have it degrade or break down.
Wonderful. And so you're really getting the finest, the elixir of each plant, it sounds like. I'm just fascinated with this, that you actually know when the plant is at its peak output of nutrients and harvest them at that time.
Yes, and some of that has to do with, watching and observing, not just one season, but season after season. And given the fact that the founder of the company lives there on the farm and walks that farm regularly, he's always watching, and that's part of, his ability to be open to the plant intelligence, so that we can, validate it in the lab and use it in making good products that we can offer to the public.
Yeah, this is wonderful. I mean, folks, Gaia Herbs are on sale at all Healthy Home Markets, 2 in Charlotte, 1 in Davidson, right through November. It's 25% off on the discount. Now's the time to get in and get yourself ready for winter with these products that are really outstanding and are they really do set the tone for herbal standards. And so stay with us. We'll be right back. We're going to take a little break. Don't go away. Keep it locked to Streets 103.3. You know it's true. Drink more water, eat your vegetables, and move your body and bones for real and lasting health. But which water? And what foods? Do you find it hard to know what to eat these days? Get the help your body craves at the Healthy Home Market. Buy local farm-to-table foods to nourish your very selves with tasty goodness of organic natural meats and cheeses, produce, juices, and smoothies. And these days, everyone needs vitamins. Get the best and educate yourself with the highly trained vitamin staff at the Healthy Home Market. Learn how to restore your body from the inside out on a budget by shopping the extensive bulk department for nuts, herbs, cereals, dried fruits, mixes, and lots more. Experience the goodwill and bounty of the earth at the Healthy Home Market's 2 Charlotte locations and 1 in Davidson. Get details on the Healthy Home Market at healthyhomemkt.com.
Are you living your dream? Lots of us aren't, because we don't have a plan. All our dreams need the right plan. At the Charlotte Health Center, get a customized plan to lay down your pain and fatigue and get on your game. Feel the love and skill of Dr. Matt McAleese, chiropractor and founder of the Charlotte Health Center. Align your spine with Dr. Matt. He's got 5 essentials for a victorious life. Experience the energy, the clarity, and creativity of your body and brain when the power's on. The Charlotte Health Center is the largest private and pediatric chiropractic clinic in the QC. Dr. Matt has helped Olympians, celebrities, moms, and kids with exceptional care and concern. Call 704-780-0166. That's 704-780-0166 or charlottehealthcenter.com. Come on, live your dreams.
Novocaine, baby, Novocaine, baby.
Welcome back. Glad you're here. I'm Holly Adams, your host. We're here with Mary Bove of, Gaia Herb Farm, I should say correctly, as Mary has said, Gaia Herb Farm. And just want to let you know that there's some classes coming up also that I didn't mention before at the last break. On the 23rd and 30th, there's a wellness workshop series that you'll want to check out. So many classes at the Healthy Home Market in the Plaza Midwood store, some up at the Davidson store. So check it out at healthyhomemkt.com for all the details on upcoming classes, events, discounts, and deals at the Healthy Home Market. And before the break, Mary, we were talking about Gaia's commitment and the sensitivity that Gaia and the president, Rick Scalzo, has, the founder of the company, with the beauty and the depth of each plant. And, when you go online, and I recommend you all do that, go online to GaiaHerbs.com. It's GAIA Herbs, HERBS.com. You got phrases on there like nurtured, honest, empowered, and confidence, conviction, and reverence for nature. I imagine that is something that has you staying with Gaia and loving being with Gaia, because you're a practitioner in your own right up in New Hampshire. Tell us about your experience with Gaia, your love of Gaia.
Well, yes, I've, been involved with Gaia since the mid-1990s, and, as a practitioner early on in the 90s, I was very interested in using herbal medicine with children, and I did a lot of education and spoke a lot about that, and had a lot of people asking me where they could get medicines that were appropriate for children. And I went to Gaia because I watched not only what they were doing in the industry with making medicines, but his commitment to community and to the earth and overall aspects of good business practices, and asked them would they be interested in producing formulas that I'd been using in my clinic for children so that I wouldn't have to be doing that part of it, so that I could recommend that to other practitioners of children-friendly herbal formulas that I had seen be effective and safe in my clinical practice. And so hence we started to produce those formulas. The GIAI Kids line is still going today with numerous products that are appropriate for children. One of those products, Kids Defense, is a great product with the different echinaceas in it, which is formulated for children for helping to support their immune system and for use during cold and flu season, like we've been talking about.
Yeah, and you've also got, it reminds me to ask you about echinacea. It's like nectar or gold from God or something. Tell us more about it. I imagine it's in the kids' formula, is it?
Yes, it is. And, there's quite a story to echinacea, and I think that, we can jump in its story in the sense that it's been going for many, many years, the story here in the United States as a Native American plant that was used both by the native peoples and early settlers. We now see that there are two species of echinacea that are most popular used as medicines, and what we call Echinacea angustifolia and Echinacea purpurea. And one of the things we've learned through study and growing and observation at the GIAI farm is that different species and different parts of each plant and different seasons of harvest have different actions and different chemical activities within echinacea. So we've learned that when echinacea is being used for acute or rapid response, such as with colds and flus, using angustifolia root or Echinacea purpurea seed head and root is one of the best ways to provide the chemistries that are needed for that type of response. We've also learned that those chemistries aren't present in spring growth of the plant, that during that time in the spring there are a lot of what we call polysaccharides, and those are very useful for stimulating the immune system or building it up, not necessarily for warding off colds and flus. So it's very, interesting over time to be able to understand that, things such as different parts as well as the season of harvest can make a difference. So, in GIAI's whole body defense, where we are looking to build up the immune system and support it and get it stronger, we use a combination of both species of plants and all parts of the plant so that we can provide a full chemical profile, including those polysaccharides and the chemistries that are found later in the plant growth in the fall.
So what about echinacea? It seems like there's a sort of a match made in heaven with echinacea and golden seal. Is there that you see those herbs together quite a lot? Tell us about that synergistic dynamic.
Yes, you do see them combined often together. And, some people think of golden seal as a strong antimicrobial. It's high in berberine and other constituents that work to inhibit or work against microbes, particularly bacteria. We also know that traditionally golden seal has been used as a plant to help to improve the mucous membrane layer of the respiratory system. And that's one of our first lines of defense, as we were talking about earlier. One of the first ways that the immune system works to defend the body is to have good, healthy mucous membranes and secretions of the mucous membranes. So golden seal not only helps to bring an antibacterial quality to the remedy, but it also helps to support the immune response at that level of the mucous membranes. And then the echinacea, as we said, often combined with the fall seed head and the root growth, so that it has a lot of what we call the isobutylamides. And these isobutylamides, the constituent, is what helps to get us to have a shorter duration or a less intense cold or flu.
It's just incredible. That you have such knowledge. The other one that we get a lot of requests for is the black elderberry syrup and the nighttime syrup.
Yes.
Tell us, that's like a big biggie for immunity.
it is a big biggie, and I think one with the fact that flu is a reality. It comes around at this season every year. That many people choose not to want to get a flu shot, like they don't have that in their plan, but they want to do something to help to either improve their immunity or to diminish their risk for getting a flu. And black elderberry syrup is excellent for that, in the sense that it can be used to maintain health and to prevent by using a daily dose. And it can also be used at the time of, in the sense that if I came down with something and all of a sudden I felt like I was getting that thing that was going around, I could take it more frequently throughout the day. It would help to boost my response so that, I wouldn't have, I'd have something I could do to help to fight it at the time of the challenge.
Well, that's wonderful, because that's something that you could have in your quote-unquote medicine chest, or I guess you'd have it in your refrigerator if you've opened it up.
Yeah, I think, keeping it in the fridge is a great way. And, I often will add a half a teaspoon into the tea that I'm drinking that day, or into some sparkling water or warmed up cider, all of those. And even, putting it into recipes such as smoothies or adding it to some applesauce is a great way to include it in your diet.
Oh, what a great idea. Love it. There's also the black elderberry nighttime syrup. What's in there that is helping somebody get through the night?
Yes, that nighttime syrup, has a few herbs which we call nervines, which help to relax musculature and to kind of calm agitation and relax the mind, so it's easier to be able to sleep. And when someone has a respiratory or a flu, cold challenge, sometimes it's harder for them to sleep, or they wake frequently during the night and they don't feel as rested. And rest is a really important part of a good immune support. So, with the nighttime formula, we've got, herbs that really help to support a good restful night.
Mary, is there something else in the Gaia buffet, the lineup of Gaia herbs, that we should be taking for resting and for sleeping? Because so many people suffer from insomnia.
Oh, I agree. I think that's so true. And, in the sleep piece, I think that, it contributes to our health, and it's, one of the ways that we can process and get rid of stress. And using herbs can help to support that. So there are sleep formulas that help to initiate sleep. And then we have a product called Sleep Through, which actually helps to keep one asleep. So if you're the kind of person that falls off with ease, but does not necessarily sleep through the night, they wake up more towards the earlier part of the early part of the morning, they may find something like Sleep Through helps very much to help them get a full night's sleep rather than waking up, after they've fallen asleep.
So what's in Sleep Through that's not in the other sleep herbal?
Well, in the Sleep Through, that features, the nervines, the typical kinds of sleep herbs, such as the valerian and the kava, but it also actually focuses in on magnolia and ashwagandha. And magnolia and ashwagandha might be called nervine plants that are adaptogens, and they actually help with dealing with the whole endocrine aspect of the sleep cycle. So not necessarily the nervous system's input, but more the hormonal input from the stress system and the brain system.
Wow, that's a big help for a lot of people. I know Sleep Through. I mean, there's something like, I think it's 10 million people are on sleep medication here in the. I'm sure it's more than that, actually. Maybe, do you have an idea of how many folks are troubled with sleep in this country?
I don't have a number, but I know that it's a really high percent, and I know in my own clinical practice that a good 80% of people who came in had sleep complaints. That it was far and few between when somebody answered the question that they had good sleep, or they were happy with their sleep, or they woke up feeling rested. Mm-hmm. That was not, a question that people normally answer yes to.
Is there? Do you find in your practice that there's a cutoff of age, that people over a certain age have more problems with sleep, or do younger folks have a problem too?
No, actually, younger folks do, and I would say there that I do know that there are, a much higher percentage of preschool and school-age children that deal with insomnia, and as well as the preteen and teen group, and that there is more insomnia in our childhood population overall than ever before. And so it is not something that's just an adult issue.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing to get a hold of early if you get that problem, because it does create, so many issues follow from a lack of sleep.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that I try to stress with my parents is that, it's important for children to have good sleep, and that sleep patterns, are disrupted by over busy days. And when we expect our children to do, school and then every other extracurricular activity that goes on in the afternoon, that those create, issues with sleep easily because of anxiety and stress, and that stress hormones during the developmental ages for the human being can definitely change the way our sleep patterns mature and set themselves in.
Right. Good info. And, we'll take another short break, Mary, and folks, stay right with us here at the studio. We're going to be right back here on Streets 103.3. You know it's true. Drink more water, eat your vegetables, and move your body and bones for real and lasting health. But which water and what foods? Do you find it hard to know what to eat these days? Get the help your body craves at the Healthy Home Market. Buy local farm-to-table foods to nourish your very selves with tasty goodness of organic natural meats and cheeses, produce, juices, and smoothies. And these days, everyone needs vitamins. Get the best and educate yourself with the highly trained vitamin staff at the Healthy Home Market. Learn how to restore your body from the inside out on a budget by shopping the extensive bulk department for nuts, herbs, cereals, dried fruits, mixes, and lots more. Experience the goodwill and bounty of the earth at the Healthy Home Market's 2 Charlotte locations and 1 in Davidson. Get details on the Healthy Home Market at healthyhomemkt.com.
Are you living your dream? Lots of us aren't, because we don't have a plan. All our dreams need the right plan. At the Charlotte Health Center, get a customized plan to lay down your pain and fatigue and get on your game. Feel the love and skill of Dr. Matt McAleese, chiropractor and founder of the Charlotte Health Center. Align your spine with Dr. Matt. He's got 5 essentials for a victorious life. Experience the energy, the clarity, and creativity of your body and brain when the power's on. The Charlotte Health Center is the largest private and pediatric chiropractic clinic in the QC. Dr. Matt has helped Olympians, celebrities, moms, and kids with exceptional care and concern. Call 704-780-0166. That's 704-780-0166 or charlottehealthcenter.com. Come on, live your dreams.
Novocaine, baby, Novocaine, baby.
Glad you're here with us on the Healthy Home Hour today. We're here today, right now, with Mary Bove, talking about herbs for immunity. We've been talking about sleep herbs and all the various beautiful things that herbs can do for you, that how you can really get healthy with this seed to shelf company, GIAI Herbs, from right here in North Carolina. Mary, another herb that we hear a lot about, and we have the GIAI tincture as well at all our stores, is astragalus. And it's such an interesting herb to me, and great for immunity. I know you've mentioned it before, but I would like to just maybe a little more detail on it.
Yes, absolutely. I think astragalus is, what we would call an immune adaptogen. It plays a part in 2 places. And I think of it as one of those plants that actually builds up immunity. So it's a plant that I would be using when somebody really is challenged, where they've been challenged over a period of time. Maybe they have chronic allergies or a chronic inflammatory disease like an arthritis or, a skin challenge. Maybe they have, they just really never feel like their immune health gets back up to par. So it's like building the root, the core of that immune piece. It helps to build up the mucous membranes, the secretions. It builds up both what we call the non-specific immunity and specific immunity. So it's a kind of plant, for instance, like if I'm a person who gets fall allergies every time the fall season comes around, I might use astragalus for 3 to 6 months prior to that, and particularly something like Astragalus Supreme by GIAI, which is a formula of several herbs that support this aspect. And by using it for 3 to 6 months prior to allergy season, I can actually, improve my allergy response and maybe even find that my allergy symptoms are far less than they would have been if I hadn't built up my immune system. So I really think of it in that way, to build and to support. And it also helps to support the gut mucosa, which helps to support a good, healthy microbiome, which we know is directly connected to healthy immunity.
It's so interesting how, you're thinking about all these different herbs, and it makes me wonder if there's a better time to take herbs. Is there a better way, with water, with meals, or any time? What do you suggest?
It really varies in the sense that there are some times that are more appropriate than others, and that, for instance, like with turmeric, using turmeric with a meal can help to improve the way it's absorbed. So sometimes we take it, at a particular time because it impacts absorption. For instance, if you're going to use a herb on your gut for interfacing with your gastrointestinal tract, then really you want to take it on an empty stomach. If you're going to, use a plant or a remedy and you have a sensitive gut where you tend to, get an upset stomach easily, then you're going to take that at the end of your meal so it's mixed up with food and it's less likely to irritate you. But if you're a person who needs to use a herb, for instance, because you have a respiratory infection and you have a cough, taking that on an empty stomach, you'll get a better response in your respiratory system than if you took your herbs on a full stomach. So you can see there can be some real variation.
Yeah, it's amazing. You've mentioned a couple of times this idea of acute challenges and then long-term challenges. Are there herbs that kind of can do both, can cover both extremes of health issues? Yes,
I think that absolutely. That, as we talked about the echinacea, that's a great example that there are particular species and times of harvest that the echinacea needs to be harvested for good, acute rapid response, versus using another part of the echinacea to build. And so, to me, I think recognizing that, herbs have multiple different properties to them and that they can be used and applied in different ways. But something like the polysaccharide high plants, such as the medicinal mushrooms, reishi and shiitake, and, large polysaccharides, these polysaccharides are very building and stimulating for the immune system to improve and tonify itself. So those are definitely plants that I would be using more long-term to build, versus plants that are working more acutely, such as what we know as andrographis or the echinacea isobutylide containing parts.
And you mentioned, didn't you say that astragalus also is one of those that you would, you mentioned that 3 to 6 month prior to allergy season, that really helps. That's another building type of herb?
Yes, for building that up, absolutely.
And another popular herb that we sell a lot of is oil of oregano. What is that? That's just amazing.
Oh, yes, and I think that, that's a good example of, honing in on a particular part of a plant. So we know oregano, and we know that it has that wonderful smell and flavor that we like in cooking, and that comes from the oil. And by taking the oil away from the woody parts of the plant, we actually concentrate that. And oils are of plants like that. They're what we call volatile. They have a lot of constituents that work as antiseptic. So they work as antimicrobials. And the oil of oregano is very useful in helping to dampen down bacterial and viral and fungal infections in the body. So people may use the oil of oregano for an infection that might be in the lungs or the respiratory system, such as the throat or the sinuses. Or they also may use it if they have, candidiasis of the gastrointestinal tract. And so it makes it a very useful plant at helping to influence the microbiome, help to diminish or discourage abnormal bacterial and fungal growth, and at the same time work to deliver some antioxidant properties, because these volatile oils bring a lot of terpenes, which are antioxidants, so they have some immune supportive properties as well.
So you mentioned I've not heard it said very much that way, candidiasis? Candidiasis,
yeah.
Thank you. But you're speaking of candida?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so overgrowth of yeast growth in the gastrointestinal tract or in a woman's vaginal area. Mm-hmm. And the oil of oregano can be very useful in helping to inhibit growth of those types of funguses in the body. And one thing that I would say about it is this is not a product that like you use on and on and on, in the sense that generally in 12 or 16 weeks of use, then most of the time the microbes have shifted. So you don't want to use it for months and months, because you want to make sure that you have growth of the healthy microbes as well.
Well, that brings up a great point, knowing... I'm so glad you mentioned that 12 to 16 week time frame of taking oil of oregano, because people, we've got something like 10 times the number of bacteria as we have human cells in our body. So there are some good critters, as they say, that, we need to protect as well.
Exactly. So using that for a couple of months to help to deter the abnormal bacteria from growing, and then turning around and supporting the gut with good, fiber foods or chia, flaxseed, and using something like Swedish bitters to help to initiate good gut secretions that help to then encourage more positive microbes to grow.
So that would be sort of almost like a probiotic or a prebiotic effort?
Yes. What happens with the Swedish bitters is that gets our digestive secretions going, and digestive secretions help to encourage healthy environments such as pH and mucosal health, and then that's going to, encourage the bacteria to want to live there.
And, it's I have often wondered with cleanses is if you can over cleanse. Like, some people are really into cleansing. Like, I have a friend that does it for 40 days at a time, and I'm wondering what that does to your gut and your healthy bacteria.
Right. Well, I certainly would say that there is a possibility for over-cleansing, and certainly I think that, cleansing is just one phase of gut health, and that you cleanse, and then it's important to build up and restore and revitalize. And if someone is not doing those steps and helping to, revitalize and encourage good probiotic growth, and only using things that cleanse out or discourage bacterial growth, there can be, a dysbiosis that occurs from that. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that, it's important to eat a good diet that has good fermented food and a variety of foods in it that exposes us to a variety of different types of bacteria. So, certainly I think cleansing in the spring and the fall, or doing a short one-day fast once a month to help to rest the gut, is our gut supportive activities. But again, I think that moderation is important.
What about with fasting? And we talked earlier about the adrenal glands and stress, and that the impact of those of stress and weak adrenals on the immune system. Some people complain that they have a hard time cleansing because their blood sugar and whatnot. For those kinds of folks, what would you recommend?
Well, I think if that's going on for someone, then they need to look at options within cleansing. Like maybe they're not a person that should do a water fast or a juice fast in that sense. That maybe they need to do, a single food fast, and they need to make sure that they're paying attention to their blood sugar. And there are fasts out there, and there are some types of cleansing and fasts that use different types of rice protein drinks that help to stabilize blood sugar for people who really have issues with that. So I think that becomes an important aspect, because if your blood sugar is unstable during fasting, then you're actually creating more issues for your body, and you're not reaping the benefits of fasting.
Sure. I'm wondering, is there an herb, a GIAI herb, that's very good for blood sugar?
Well, there are a number of herbs that can be very useful for blood sugar. And certainly I think within fasting and cleansing, that would be different than if you're going to use something to improve your glycemic metabolism on a day-to-day basis. And I think that in fasting and cleansing, something like turmeric, which helps to support blood sugar, which also helps to support liver detoxification and overall inflammatory movement of debris, I think that that's a great plant to think about. Using something like turmeric boost, which is combined with the chai spices, and those spices like ginger and cinnamon help to cleanse and stabilize glucose, as well as cardamom helps very much to support detoxification. So using something like turmeric mixed with the chai spices can be very useful in that, particularly in the wintertime when you're trying to keep somebody warm.
Yeah. Oh, that turmeric boost is amazing. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna come right back and talk about turmeric boost and the value of turmeric some more with you, Mary. So stand by, folks. Stay with us. Keep it locked. Down Streets 1033. You know it's true. Drink more water, eat your vegetables, and move your body and bones for real and lasting health. But which water and what foods? Do you find it hard to know what to eat these days? Get the help your body craves at the Healthy Home Market. Buy local farm-to-table foods to nourish your very selves with tasty goodness of organic, natural meats and cheeses, produce, juices, and smoothies. And these days, everyone needs vitamins. Get the best and educate yourself with the highly trained vitamin staff at the Healthy Home Market. Learn how to restore your body from the inside out on a budget by shopping the extensive bulk department for nuts, herbs, cereals, dried fruits, mixes, and lots more. Experience the goodwill and bounty of the earth at the Healthy Home Market's 2 Charlotte locations and 1 in Davidson. Get details on the Healthy Home Market at healthyhomemkt.com.
Are you living your dream? Lots of us aren't, because we don't have a plan. All our dreams need the right plan. At the Charlotte Health Center, get a customized plan to lay down your pain and fatigue and get on your game. Feel the love and skill of Dr. Matt McAleese, chiropractor and founder of the Charlotte Health Center. Align your spine with Dr. Matt. He's got 5 essentials for a victorious life. Experience the energy, the clarity, and creativity of your body and brain when the power's on. The Charlotte Health Center is the largest private and pediatric chiropractic clinic in the QC. Dr. Matt has helped Olympians, celebrities, moms, and kids with exceptional care and concern. Call 704-780-0166. That's 704-780-0166 or charlottehealthcenter.com. Come on, live your dreams.
Novocaine, baby, Novocaine.
Welcome back. I'm glad you're here. We're listening to Mary Bove. We're having a great conversation here about herbs, GIAI Herb Farm, right here in North Carolina, talking about immunity and what you can do to amp it up, whether you have a chronic condition or an acute condition, that how GIAI Herbs can really help you. And they are on sale. Line Drive, 25% off all GIAI Herbs this month at all Healthy Home Markets this month of November. You know, I don't want to let you go, Mary, without talking a little bit about turmeric. And you mentioned it before the break. GIAI has turmeric boost and turmeric heart and turmeric allergies, you know, which we've got a lot of in North Carolina. What is it about turmeric, and what is this new turmeric boost?
Oh, well, I think, turmeric is definitely a plant that's gotten a lot of attention. I think some of that has to do with the fact that, looking around in modern day kind of health, we recognize that inflammation is a driving force, that it tends to be behind type 2 diabetes, it tends to be behind cardiovascular challenges and immune challenges. Many inflammatory bowel issues are driven by inflammation. And when we look at ethnic groups, we see that, people who eat a lot of turmeric tend not to have similar types of health challenges. So I think that turmeric, has gained attention out of necessity. And when people ask themselves what can they do to help to improve their health and maybe minimize some of their risks for illnesses that might be in their family history or their genetic piece, turmeric comes up because we find it on a variety of fronts. We see that it's very useful in helping to improve cardiac function and vascular function and cholesterol levels. We see that it inhibits inflammatory process that affects joint and joint swelling and arthritis. And many people, as we age, and even middle-aged people, are dealing with arthritis challenges. And so encouraging people to use turmeric as part of a plan on a regular basis can help to minimize some of that uncomfortableness that comes in people's joints. And Gaia turned around and looked at the fact that inflammation was really linked to many areas of health challenges. And so we created the Gaia Turmeric Supreme line to focus that action against modulating inflammation and regulating inflammation of turmeric into certain systems. So the Turmeric Supreme Heart is combined with herbs that focus on heart health, heart muscle, heart tissue and innervation, and vascular tissue. So that formula brings that into the heart system. With the allergy one, we really look at things that stabilize the allergic response so that it's not, going off at every little thing, and that way it helps people not be as symptomatic. In the Turmeric Supreme Pain product, we've coupled it up with herbs that are known to help to diminish discomfort and pain. And so it's kind of an option for people who can't take or don't want to take over-the-counter pain relievers to use the Turmeric Supreme Pain, because many times in the dynamic of pain in the body, inflammation is part of that. And the Turmeric Boost gives a really nice therapeutic dose of turmeric in a powder form for those people who want to do it in a smoothie or put it into a food format. Recently, I had Turmeric Boost served in hot apple cider as a mulled cider drink, and it was excellent. Very delicious, warming, and the spices in there added to that warming sensation and really was a lovely warm beverage.
That's really exciting. I'm thinking about all the cider we're all going to start having here for Thanksgiving and into Christmas, and to add turmeric, that's I imagine it gives it a kind of a depth of flavor, rounds it out a little bit, not quite as sweet as the standard cider.
It does, and really kind of, as you said, that depth of taste and the warmth of that really, kind of goes deep into and warms up your bones.
Sounds really nice. It's rainy here today, so it's that's especially nice to think about. And I know it's cold in New Hampshire, so I'm sure you're already into that. And I thank you so much, Mary, for being here today, for giving us your time and your deep knowledge. And it's great to have you back on the Healthy Home Hour.
Well, it was great to be back, and it was a wonderful conversation we had today.
Thank you. Thanks a bunch. We'll do it again.
Okie doke.
For sure. So get healthy and sustain it this winter with Gaia Herbs. Get to all Healthy Home Markets for a 25% off all Gaia products right through November. You've got 19 days left. Many of the products actually would make great presents for the holidays. And if you need some help, email me at hadams@healthyhomemkt.com, and be here next week. Pardon me, at 9 for a look at real clean water with Santivia. Blessed Sunday to y'all and into the coming week. Peace out. This is Streets 1033, Charlotte's new hip-hop station. Pay it forward and restore yourself by making the healthy choices for you and your family, and enjoy life with the Healthy Home Market. Feel the goodwill and own great health. Check it out at healthyhomemkt.com. healthyhomemkt.com. That's healthyhomemkt.com for store locations, details, and discounts. Get the best of God's green blue earth at the Healthy Home Market.